Well, hello everybody. This is Richard with Janus Motorcycles, back for another production 450 production update. This week is a pretty big week for us here. I'm standing behind our fourth production prototype, fourth and, as I mentioned before, our last production prototype. So this is the final prototype we'll be putting out before production begins. So this is the last one for us to wrap up fitment issues, assembly processes, kind of the last go round to just dial the whole process in. So the last time y'all saw this bike in the previous update, it was on the build stand. I don't think it had wheels on it, but it was getting close. We're taking a longer time with these bikes because we are breaking down every step. Ryan, who will be doing all of the 450 assembly, is documenting the hardware he's using, the sequence that things are going together, if there's anything that he wants improved for production. So just lots of process stuff, and so we're taking the time now to work through as much of that as we can before we are working on production bikes that are headed to customers. So in terms of this bike, the fourth production prototype, it's really gone together pretty smoothly. We're really just kind of documenting, again, as I say, what's going to help to make sure that assembly goes smoothly. What can we change to make this a smoother, cleaner process? Some small things that we are still working on that I mentioned last time were the fender. The fenders, we've kind of just been dialing that last bit in. The last thing we're doing, we made a fender drilling jig so that we can place those holes exactly where we want them. And that's something we've kind of been holding off on until everything is the way we want it before we jig those for production. And that's all done. Our fenders, as you know, by this point are all made in-house. So we maintain control over that entire process, which is a big improvement for us as we move toward bringing more and more parts in-house. So that actually is a nice segue into the fact that as of today, we are actually beginning the production chassis fabrication at our fabrication shop. So right now, Colin, who's doing all the chassis fabrication, is basically taking all the documentation that we've done through this last assembly and making any last changes that need to be made to the tooling, to the componentry, so that it's all the improvements we've made through these last four prototypes, production prototypes, will be integrated into the very first production bike, which he'll probably be getting started on that later today. So that's kind of really exciting news. Over this last weekend, I took out our second production prototype and we're just trying to put more and more miles on all the bikes. I put about 250 miles on Sunday and just had a blast, rode around here from one side basically of Indiana to the other and back, and just had a blast taking the bike from both the first 100 miles I did on 55 mile an hour speed limit roads, so smaller, slower speed roads, and then the second half of the day I jumped on the 20 bypass up and around up into Michigan and did more kind of the 75, 80, 85 miles an hour speeds, and just trying to experience all the different types of riding conditions, and just had a blast. It's a fantastic bike. The seat, probably as someone who enjoys doing longer distance riding, the seat is phenomenal. I just, after 250 miles, I have absolutely no fatigue. It's just a really smooth, comfortable ride. So the Sargent seat has accomplished everything that we wanted. The suspension is smooth, brakes are great. We really are very, very pleased. We've really accomplished everything we set out to with this new 450 bike. Speaking of suspension, yesterday we published a new blog post, which is part one of two documenting both the history and the design of our new 450 Halcyon rear suspension. So if you don't subscribe to our email list and you would enjoy looking at that, that's on our website under our blog. It's the latest post, and it kind of goes from all the way back to the beginning of what suspension, when suspension was invented with early carriages, all the way through the advances in motorcycle suspension, especially rear suspension, right up to basically about the Norton featherbed kind of type frame. And the second part of that will focus on more modern suspension and our choice in using this cantilever suspension with the shock absorbers located underneath the seat. So check it out if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoy these videos, please subscribe to our channel to find more videos in the future.